Like the nothing but the soil in the earth, breaking through the rocks, growing wild and tall till the buds begin to pop. So pack me in a bowl or roll me in a spliff, or you're breaking me down with a feel.
That place that I sent you, it's called El Yunque. I bet that you know about it. So it's one of the most beautiful places that we have in Puerto Rico, and one of my favorite places to actually go smoke weed and be connected with nature, as well as, meditate a little bit.
Hello, this is Ryan Heron from Portland, Oregon, and I'm with
Amanda Breeze, and I'm in Toronto.
And we're here today to talk about all the fun stuff around one of our favorite plants, cannabis. Amanda just got back from an area that is known to have some pretty good weed, and I want to hear about your trip. So let's talk about it.
Yes, I just got back from an amazing, spontaneous week in Puerto Rico. It's been on my radar for a while. I mean, it's paradise. Like it's literal paradise, crystal clear waters, hot. While I was there, I learned that Puerto Rico only has one season. Like if you Google it, Google will literally say Puerto Rico has only one season, and it's just always nice there. It is completely the definition of paradise. So I did not want to leave.
Yeah, why'd you come back?
I don't know. I really, I've been asking myself that all week. Why did I come back? Because I flew right into snow. There was a full-blown snowstorm.
Oh, fun.
And and the day before I left, my mom sent me a video of my dad snow blowing their driveway. And I was like, thanks, Mom. I have that to look forward to when I get back from bathing in the sun and the hot sands.
Yeah, we're recording this on video. You're probably hearing it on audio, but just rest assured, Amanda's looking tan.
I am looking tanned
and relaxed.
I'm the opposite of relaxed, but yeah, I'm definitely.
You have a joint in your hand, okay? You're allowed to say, I'm allowed to say you look relaxed. Yeah.
Yes. So the scene in Puerto Rico, I like to Google places before I go there because, it was such a spontaneous trip with some friends that I just really didn't know what to expect when I got there at all. I've never heard too much about it. And so I was Googling cannabis in Puerto Rico and trying to get a sense of the scene there. And there is nothing on the internet about the weed scene in Puerto Rico. So I was like, well, this is my chance to find it and tell the world. And Puerto Rico does have a weed scene. Of course they do. They're practically in the Caribbean, maybe officially are. And there's a vibrant cannabis scene down there. There's a lot. So Puerto Rico's medical. So there were a bunch of dispensaries. I wouldn't say Toronto number of dispensaries, and probably not a Portland number of dispensaries, but they're definitely around. Classic aesthetic, blocked out windows with that Apple Store aesthetic. Down there, they all had the green cross. So that's a pretty good indicator. Some of them were sort of bunker-like warehouses with barbed wire behind huge fences, and you couldn't really tell where the front door was. And it was kind of, I don't know if I want to walk up to this place. And then, of course, some of them were in the city and more, city shop vibes, just look like a normal storefront. So it was a mix of aesthetics for sure.
Yeah. Puerto Rico is a kind of an interesting place. I remember just from my Oregonian point of view, knowing a lot of people in the cannabis scene, Puerto Rico cleared the way for med in 2015, which is right when things started kind of heating up here in Oregon, where we're making that med to rec switch. So there was, I would say, a dozen companies and cultivators here that said, hey, look, we saw the writing on the wall here in Oregon. We made the switch from med to rec. It's going to happen in Puerto Rico too. Maybe we have family there, or maybe an investor wants to get things going. So I saw quite a few people move down there, especially in 2017, where things really opened up and med became official, opening dispensaries, edibles, cultivation license kind of a thing. Since then, Puerto Rico has been hit by a hurricane or two, really fucked with the infrastructure. Power was difficult to get. These were all indoor operations. And so I know that the market receded and never went fully rec or hasn't yet. And in those kinds of like vacuums, the black market steps in. And so I know the folks, when I saw you were going, I reached out to my network. I said, hey, Amanda's going to Puerto Rico. Who can I put her in touch with? It was a lot of like, go to this back door and talk to this person, and less like, cool, go to this place on Main Street and get a good deal on a quarter or whatever. So what was your experience like actually tracking down some herb?
Yeah, so I was kind of unsure how it would go, because, I've gotten really lucky living here where recreational is legal. So I was kind of curious to see what it would be like going back to a medical only market. And plus, it's an island. So, like, anytime I've traveled to islands, it tends to be a little more challenging to find weed because people don't want to ship it necessarily there. So typically when you go to islands, you find a lot of hash because it's easier to ship illicit drugs when they're more compact. So I was like, I wonder what it'll be like there. But really what I found was a thriving black market. The weed is everywhere. It is not hard to find there. You walk down the beach and people are smoking it. You're catching wafts all over the place, especially on the beach. And really what's actually happening down there is that people are getting their medical licenses, buying at the legal dispensaries, and then reselling it on the street.
Oh, okay.
So everything I smoked was medical, but it was all through random street people who were hustling. And so I was with a crew of 6 other people, and I was probably the only one who actually wanted to find weed there. So I let them know. I was like, listen, guys, I'm here. I want to see the scene. So if you guys smell weed, see weed, anyone, when you're walking down the street, people will be like, you want some weed? Like, that happens. I was like, when that happens, just say yes, buy the weed and I'll pay you back. Like, let's just make it happen. So the first night I landed, it was midnight. My flight was super delayed. And so we went to the local grocery store to get some snacks and some beers. And right away I found weed coffee. So I was like, oh, this is a really good sign. So I found this Cannabisimo coffee that's basically made with like hemp flowers, hemp leaves, or hemp seeds. They have 3 different versions. So hemp seeds, that's old news. I went straight for the leaves and flower. I've been drinking it. It's really good coffee. And I really wish that it was easier to ship things because I would love for us to both be sipping on it right now.
Yeah. Hey, let's track some of this down.
Yeah, and they do
Cannabisimo is who you said?
Yeah, and they do sell it in the States because I've looked it up since I got back, and I've never seen it here, but it's definitely, I mean, it was a grocery store and they were just selling it right there. So that was pretty cool. Day one, we went straight to the beach and I was smelling people smoking weed, but I had to build up to asking someone. Like, it took me like a little bit to be like, I'm gonna walk up to a stranger and ask, like, where did you get this? And I did. And the first person I asked was this really cool guy named Shaggy. And I was like, hey man, like, I saw you smoking a joint. Like, how do I get some? And he was like, I can't sell you any because I work at a dispensary. And so I was like, fair. Tell me about it. And he said he loves it. He loves working at dispensaries.
Okay.
It's really safe. It's a good environment. We had a nice chat. The vibe I got was that it's actually a really good job down there. Kind of like here, it's a dispensary. It's pretty chill. But he did say they're very strict because I was like, do you think I could go in and see what the inside looks like? And he was like, probably not. And I did try to get into a couple of dispensaries. I practiced saying I am a cannabis writer in Spanish. My Spanish is pretty bad, but I know a little.
Hey.
And everyone said no.
Really? I mean, I get it. People are protective. They have to be protective over their licenses. But hey, come on in, get a tour.
That's what I thought. I thought that I would just be able to be like, I'm not trying to buy anything. I'm just curious. I'm enthusiastic about weed. Like, I just want to see it. But no, they're actually quite strict about you even entering the dispensary without your permit. So that was a bust. So I was like, oh no, this isn't a good sign. But literally 10 minutes later, you know, it's an island, word gets around fast. And this random guy walked up to me and my crew and was like, hey, I think you guys are looking for weed. And we were like, yes, we are. And so he sold us some. And of course, he had purchased it from a dispensary and was basically reselling it,
Sure.
which is what everyone is doing down there. So to
Yeah.
me, it's kind of interesting because it's like there is clearly a thriving recreational market that's thriving on the back of the medical market. So I support people getting their piece of the pie, but at that point, why not make it recreational? Like that's seems a little silly, I guess, to be. And people are smoking very openly. That was the other thing. People are just walking down the beach. People are just ripping doobies very publicly. So
Yeah, and all we've seen is that no, okay, the one negative to legalizing weed in the most idyllic sense is that we have added trash. You know, there is like a certain amount of plastic pollution and just littering that happens with it. Okay, great. I've acknowledged that. Beyond that, job creation, tax dollars, just general mellowing people out, especially in these places that are like tourist havens and you're trying to attract people anyway, and then also tell them, hey, get out of here when you're done. Weed's perfect for all of that. What's the holdup?
we're going to play an interview later on in this episode that I did
Yes.
with one of the locals. And me and him talked about this a little because he runs the bioluminescent bay tours on the island of Vieques.
Oh, so
And
cool.
so he was saying that, like, you know, this is really the perfect destination for cannabis tourism because cannabis tourists don't want to smoke a joint and go shopping in downtown. They want to smoke a joint and kayak on the bay. They want to smoke a joint and go bird watching. They want to sit on the beach in a hammock and chill. And so that this place is natural beauty abundant everywhere you look. Vieques has wild horses, like literal wild horses, ponies. We rented a golf cart, so we were cruising down the road in this little golf cart and just ponies everywhere, just chilling on the side of the road. And it's like, this is fucking paradise. Of course, I just want to rip a doobie on this golf cart and like cruise around. Like, this is absolute perfection and so idyllic for canna tourism. The trash point, Ryan, I completely agree with you because I did only once see weed trash. And the minute I saw it, I fucking knew what it was right away. That little plastic tube, I saw it and I was like, that's weed trash. That is cannabis litter right there.
Yes.
And that I had the same thought. I'm like, that the recreational market would really, I mean, you'd be walking down the beach and finding doob tubes, you know, like that's ideally not, you know, pack it in, pack it out, but I could see that.
You know what? Hey, you are this is the perfect opportunity for an island culture that is uniquely positioned to say, please don't bring more plastic bullshit to our islands. Please, to put it into the legislation. All of this stuff has to be in super eco-friendly packaging. All of these options exist. People have created even child-proof bags that are super reusable, not made of plastic, have like a lockable zipper that you can buy for under $10 and bring to and from the dispensary. Great. Hey, add that to your list. Now everybody's got their little weed bag that they have to bring to and from the dispensary. And then we don't have to worry about pop tops and joint tubes that are one-time use and are barely recyclable.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, okay, I'll get off my soapbox and then take it and fold it neatly and put it in the recycling. But I feel like that I don't know why I'm so stuck on the plastic bullshit today. Probably because I just had to recycle a bunch of pop tops. But why not? Somebody's got to do it. Lead the way. We don't need metric tags.
It's so real, and there's so much plastic litter in Toronto. Like, Toronto's a pretty clean city. I would actually say Puerto Rico as a whole was extremely clean. Like, there was very little trash. Obviously tourist areas are well tended to, but even we wandered around the whole islands and island hopped. So like we saw a lot of it, and it is very clean. People really treat the whole area with respect. And there's also garbage cans everywhere. Like there are just trash cans everywhere you look. There's always trash cans. So, I mean, I'd like to say the same about here, but when you walk down the street in Toronto, there is a way obscene amount of weed bags and weed litter like everywhere. So it's definitely worth thinking about when you're talking about bringing a rec market to and tourists, Canadian and American tourists to Paradise. It is going to happen. So that's interesting. But I would say for anyone thinking of going there, I was able to find weed in like less than 24 hours.
Great.
So that is chill. And after we picked up weed from this stranger, it's always the case where at first I couldn't find any and then it was everywhere, right? So then, you know, as you're walking down the street, people are just sitting there smoking. This one guy was smoking the fattest blunt to his dome and under his breath just being like, weed, weed, weed. And I was like, shit, should I buy some more? I didn't, but like, it's good to know people like that are out there and they're there to sell weed to tourists.
Oh, so I need to hear, how is this weed that you received packaged?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank
And
you.
then
That's the most important
also,
part.
I mean, you know, also, what did it look, what was it? You know, what did it smell like? Give me the
Okay.
sensory evaluation of the street weed in Puerto Rico.
Okay. So keeping in mind that the street weed is what they're selling out of dispensaries, I bought it off this guy. I was like, I'll just take like $20 worth. It was, you know, an average $20. It wasn't like a Mexico $20 where you get like a whole grocery bag. It was like, you know, a little 20 bag.
Sure.
But I was like, thank you. This is amazing. So interestingly, it was several different kinds of weed in the same jar.
Really?
It seemed to me like he had bought it that way.
Huh. Like,
Which
you know, mixed turkey bag Thursdays or something like that.
that is exactly what it looked like. So it made me really wonder even more what's happening in the dispensaries, because also his container was unmarked. So it didn't have the sticker or anything on it.
Sure.
But it looked like he had just recently purchased it. It was like a full container. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I got two different kinds of weed. One was this like nice purpley stuff. One was like a more loosey, like loose trimmed, greener flower. I immediately found anthers. So it totally had nanners, which basically means the plant is gone from female to male. So the plant was under some kind of stress when they harvested it. So I was kind of surprised at that because in my mind, I like to elevate medical more than recreational, but I think that's just what they want you to think. It's going to be better quality or something. And there was quite a few anthers in it. So that whole plant was stressed. So that was kind of cool. I was calling them plantains because, you know, we're like in a tropical area. It's, you know, they have bananas there too. But yeah, so it was kind of good. It was very strong.
Oh, good. Yes.
It was very strong. My friend who I was with, Abigail, she picked some up too. And she was like, this shit is getting me kind of like super stony. And I was like, me too. Like it was really potent. So again, the packaging said nothing, but I would say it probably had a pretty high THC content. Aromatically average. It didn't have a super strong scent. And again, this could have just been because it wasn't well taken care of. So a few days later, I did find some locally grown weed on one of the islands. And it was extremely fruity, very tropical, very tropical. And Cesar showed it to me. He's the one whom I interviewed. So we talk a little bit about that flavor profile, which is very dominant in Puerto Rico. Because I was kind of curious, like, I don't know, is it gassy? Is it, you know, fruity? Super tropical.
I think that's really interesting. You know, anytime I have purchased like homegrown weed, not just like commodity weed, on an island or somewhere tropical, it has been super fruity or terpenoline dominant. And I just have to wonder, like, if you are enticed with all of these amazing fruit juices and sweetness and fruit, if that is kind of just like what the culture wants to smoke because that's what they're used to being, like, that's the enjoyable stuff.
Yeah, it's tropical and we're in tropical paradise. So made sense to me. I mean, Puerto Rico is the where pina coladas were invented. So it made sense that their weed would be equally tropical and delicious. But they also like those sort of cinnamon and spice flavors down there too. So I mean, it's hard to say, but from my experience, fruity is king down there, and it seems to be pretty common that that's what people are growing. It tends to be these fruity strains. Now, this is a trend across the board, so let's check back in 5 years and see how the flavors have changed. They're going to be building more infrastructure to set up more grows there, so we'll be seeing more locally grown products. Like I imagine a lot of stuff is probably brought in right now anyway. So it was nice to be able to see the local flavor. And crazy is that he said, "Oh, I'm really sorry. This weed's actually like super old. I bought it like well over a year ago. I've just had it in my stash, but it didn't look aged whatsoever. No discoloration. The trichomes were on point, super crystally, and the aroma was there. It was way, way stronger aromatics than the medical stuff.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
it held up.
Yeah, the difference of like a little homegrown weed that somebody's taking care of, and it's another reason why I've had both positive and negative experiences in the last few weeks at dispensaries. Amanda and I were just talking before I got on. I cleaned out my older weed stash, and I'm basically down to zero, and I haven't stocked up on anything I liked. I haven't been kicked any fat bags of anything that's just kicking around. And so I'm out on my like exploration again. And one thing I want to shout out from the archive crew, I know they did maybe just a small batch of this. It was banana cream cake by Jealousy. We talked about Jealousy a few episodes ago. It was Leafly's strain of the year in 2022. And this, though I feel like there is another seed to be popped in the same group that will really like could be its own thing. I enjoy this thing so much. I'm like counting the minutes till I can go back and buy more of it.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And I've tried some other things along the way. The Pez sour from that same batch, from that same cultivator, I thought was pretty nice. But for the most part, what I'm seeing on dispensary shelves is disappointing, super dry, been there too long, get rid of that jar type weed. And in other dispensaries, TJ's on Powell, I'll shout them out if you're a Portland local, has had a really nice rotation. They've kept everything really fresh. And there was even some stuff, some bee buds and things like that, for I think $6 a gram that I was like really surprised by. The banana cream cake is in a higher tier than that, but altogether, still some nice flavors out there, still on that like fruity, gassy, when are we going to get out of this Jealousy back cross? Okay, fine, we've had it. Still really nice, but I'm stoked to see like what's coming up and what's next.
I do love the fruities. I've always been a fan, so no complaints there. Let's see other things about Puerto Rico cannabis scene. So one night, there was this really big festival, and it's kind of like San Juan's Mardi Gras. It's kind of what the vibe was. It was massive. There was thousands and thousands and thousands of people there, just jam-packed in old San Juan. And as we were walking around, it's Puerto Rico. There's music blasting from every corner, right? Everyone's got this big setup. There's loud music everywhere. It's all hot jams. I love those like beachy kind of vibes. And so hot jams are all around. And there's this hotel that's making more noise than everywhere else.
Okay.
And as we walked by, I thought I heard what I thought I heard, but like I said, my Spanish isn't amazing. So my friend who's a little more fluent, I was like, did I just hear what I think I heard? And basically there was this whole DJ set up outside this hotel blasting music. And the MC is kind of doing this like dub thing where they're like just saying words over the music to the beat. And they're like, oh, a man's walking by, that guy. And they're like doing these little, kind of like dub style shout outs. And all of a sudden he starts saying, come party here. Like, we're marijuana, $5, marijuana, $5. And he was just hustling, like nickel bags from the front of the hotel. Like it was there. There's a scene. Like there's a scene there. And like I think that's really cool. And if you're not afraid to just ask around, like I think, you know, within minutes of asking people, it was there. Everyone in Puerto Rico is so friendly. So it's just very, very chill vibes. If you're not bold and you're not like, oh, I want to talk to a stranger to try to buy illegal drugs, they were selling CBD products in a lot of grocery stores or any type of convenience style grocery store, I guess. Not like a grocery store, but like convenience stores that have grocery.
Yeah.
Often have a shelf with like rolling papers and vape pens, tons of blunt wraps. Everyone's smoking blunts. But also I found a lot of Delta 9 vape pens. Didn't try them. It's not for me.
Sure, they're
Um,
around.
yeah, they were super easy to find in a few different places. And the day before I left, one of the shops I popped into, I ran out of rolling papers. So I just popped in to get a pack, and they were selling CBD pre-rolls.
Huh.
So I bought one. It was
Sure.
$12 with tax. It was kind of cool looking. It had like a gold tip. It was like a little fancy papier, this fancy paper. I guess
Cool.
papier because it was in Spanish.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry, that was French, my bad. And they I wasn't too sure about it because admittedly it looked a little suspicious, but there's nothing specifically wrong with it. It was just like some of the branding just looked a little too mysterious. But I
Yeah.
popped it open to see what was inside. And it was mostly sticks. I will say that there was like a lot of debris.
That's too bad. Just like massively ground up hemp flower. Was it sprayed with terps?
No, it wasn't. And it really didn't have any type of smell to it.
Mhm.
Which is actually why I decided not to smoke it. When I had good stuff already. So I did buy it. I did end up smoking it. I just kind of like gave it away as we were wandering around. You know, I couldn't, all the weed I didn't finish. I just had to like, you know, be a weed fairy and give it away because I didn't want to bring it on the flight with me. But yeah, no, it was definitely ground up sticks and leaves. But I think like in a pinch, it's no worse than like a
You know
crappy.
what? Let that be your flag on the beach to the people who are selling the better weed. You know, you just make eye contact with them and look at, oh, hey, this is oh, anything else better out there? And
Yeah.
maybe someone will approach you.
Yeah, I will definitely say it was just overall, it was like really easy to find weed. Although I will say that the it is an amazing place to go and smoke weed. So if you can get there and you can find some weed, you're gonna have a good time. If you can't find weed, you're still gonna have a good time. Like the island Vieques, they have like I said, these wild horses. They have a bioluminescent bay, which is one of the few in the world, and you can kayak to the middle at night, and under the stars you're putting your paddle in and the bioluminescence are sparkling. And this guy Cesar took us on this tour and showed us all these tricks. Like if you grab a handful of water and sprinkle it, you can imagine what it looks like when it rains. And if you swirl your paddle a certain way, and then also fish live in the bay. So sometimes fish would swim by, and it's like the movie Avatar. They're just like these sparkle creatures in the sparkle water. Like it is mind-blowingly beautiful. Across the board, like everything there is like a postcard. It's so beautiful there. Lots to explore, beautiful people, beautiful hikes, amazing food, like amazing food. And then let's see, the final highlight of my trip. I feel like I'm showing you like vacation photos here.
I'm enjoying it, believe me.
The final highlight of my trip was the San Juan airport. So I will say they did have canine units. So as I was leaving, every single person was sniffed by a dog, whether it was a drug dog or a bomb dog or a whatever dog. I do not know, but I'm telling you in that moment, because I had a little personal debate on whether I should just bring the CBD joint back with me. And in the end, my friends were like, it's never worth the risk. And that's true. It is never worth the risk. My passport's in very good standing. So I'm like, It's literally a joint full of sticks. What am I going to bring that back for? So did not bring anything back with me. But you know, it's a long wait at the airport. I definitely saw the drug dog and was so relieved that I had nothing suspicious. It could even be looking for fruit or vegetables. Like, you never know these days. But those dogs are intimidating for sure.
Yeah, your best bet is, if you need to bring a little weed on vacation, trust yourself with that. But bringing it back, usually not the best idea. And if you're a nervous flyer, then hey, just eat a bunch of edibles before you get to the airport and be that guy.
Exactly. But here's the thing. So San Juan Airport, I think it's SJU is its little acronym, sells a ton of CBD drinks.
They know.
So like I was like, what? I walked in. I usually bring an empty bottle and I fill it at the airport because I hate buying a $6 bottle of water. But because I literally just rushed to the airport and was panic searching to make sure I didn't have any, butts in my pockets. Because anytime I'm smoking, I'm putting the butt in my pocket. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to get dinged with any weed on me. So I was panic packing. And just like, oh God, I have to be. I'm a very stressful flyer, so I have zero chill. I am not chill on my way to the airport. Once I'm in, I'm good. But so yeah, I had to go and I was like, I should better get some drinks. I have 2 flights to get back. And so they had a ton of CBD options. They had CBD water at 10 milligrams, and it was this cheaper than a regular bottle of water. I think it was like $3.99, which for airports, that's not bad.
Hey, seriously, getting a little bevy at the airport for under $5. I mean, you found some loophole. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. Because they were selling those ham sandwiches for 13.
They've gone up a dollar. Yes,
it.
so much. And
I
then
was
you
like,
get it and you're like, was this made like last week? What is going on with this? It's
oh,
always
yeah.
like it's even worse than you imagined it was. Oh,
They're so gross. And $13 anyway. So I was like, whatever. So finding that water, I was like, this is so chill. So I got a bottle of water and then I kept walking and I'm just seeing, and it's just right there in their bevy fridge, next to the Coca-Colas and the other water. And they had sparkling CBD drinks, and really nice flavors. Like the one I picked up was like strawberry lavender. They had like a citrus, like a guava mango, and those were 25 milligrams of CBD. And I think those were like $6. So a little more expensive. But I would say comparable to the cost of CBD drinks here.
yeah, here as well. So I'm still going out and having a drink or a nightcap or whatever. My wife has decided to just pause on drinking alcohol for a minute. Great. Totally respect that. And so her go-tos are number one, a mocktail. If somebody's going to make a cocktail for her that has no booze in it, no proof drink or whatever you want to call it, that's like, wow, we found a place that will actually do that and not just be like, yeah, I guess we can make the Aperol spritz with no booze in it. And it's just like a soda water. So that's number one. Number two is a CBD drink, typically a canned beverage. Bonus if it's got some fruit juice, like the mango passion fruit. That's actually like a really nice option if you want to be out somewhere and drinking something and it not have alcohol in it. And then number three is maybe we're lucky and there's like a kombucha on the menu and they are
soda or something. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's pretty lazy these days when there are so many options. So I like that even when you're traveling and you want a little chill out or a little me time, you can go grab one of those for comparably like the price of a beer. And especially at an airport, that's going to be like $9 if you're lucky.
They cost the same as the other drinks at the airport. Like that's the thing. Even though it's like $6 for this in CBD infused soda, so was the coconut soda next to it that had no CBD in it. Like it's the airport stuff's expensive. So I wish I had found some in town. Like that's the thing that was crazy to me is like I did go to quite a few grocery stores. I was on the lookout for any cool products. So I didn't see them. I mean, maybe they're in the dispensaries, but then why would it be at the airport?
Yeah.
But listen, if any airlines, airport executives are listening for any reason today, that was the single greatest day I have ever had in an airport because I had a long ass layover in Philly. I think it was like 4 hours.
Oof.
And I just sat there and chilled. I was not in a rush. I was just sitting there. I just watched some Netflix and listened to some podcasts on my phone, like things I would have done anyway. But my chill level was like a 20 instead of like a 3, like it set the tone for that whole day so perfectly.
Yeah.
The
And
CBD thing.
investors, if you would like to add the smoking spot next to Hudson News, I can go and I can grab my little magazines and I can step in there and oh yeah, I will pay $15 for a quick dab of some strawberry guava. Oh, cool. Thank you. I will drink some cucumber water and then go and chill out there, right? We can make this happen.
This is the future I want too. So yeah, the CBD drinks, after a long week at the beach, stressing to get to the airport, finding a handful of CBD bevies and just sipping and chilling. Wow, that was just so cool. I was also had a layover in Chicago airport on my way down. So I got to see those, what are they called? They're the boxes that you put your weed, the amnesty, cannabis
amnesty box.
box.
Thank you. I'm glad you had the name on the tip of your tongue because I'm like, consideration box. No, that's not it. Yes.
No, I got to actually see them. And I had heard about them years ago, but it didn't really quite sink in. So when I saw them, I was like, what the fuck is a cannabis amnesty box? And why is it in Chicago? And then, of course, I had to like look into it a little. And I guess this is crazy to me. You can get into the airport with your weed. So in Toronto, when you leave the airport, in the area where you can still say goodbye to your family,
right?
There's boxes where your weed goes in the garbage. And it's like weed garbage boxes. But once you've gone through security, there shouldn't really be any on you for those international flights. You can fly nationally with weed. You can have up to an ounce. So people do travel with weed, but if you're going international, you basically leave it at the front door. So in Chicago, it's behind security. So you've already passed through, you're already in the airport. And that's where if you don't have a ticket, you can't go back there. So I thought it was kind of weird that they had them inside.
On the other side, that's for you to be like, okay, phew, I'm through security, but I have a half ounce of this stinky herb in my pocket. I should probably throw it in the trash at this point. It's like, well, no, at this point, you do a little dance, so you got a half ounce of weed in your pocket. Hey, that's an option. I don't want to encourage anyone to be like,
I thought it was kind of crazy because like once you're in the airport, you're in, like, and think about me, if I was visiting Chicago and so I actually left the airport and I'm wandering around, I buy some weed, I come back, I go through customs, I go through the whole thing all the way in, and I have weed with me. And then they're like, oh, P.S. there's this box here. I don't know, it just seemed kind of suspicious. I feel like once I'm in, like the fear is getting in. The fear is getting stopped on your way in. So I don't know. It seemed like almost too chill. I was like, what's going on, Chicago?
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw one of those boxes was at the train station in Amsterdam. And I felt so guilty throwing 2 grams of weed away that I just tucked it in it was like a mailbox, where it's like weighted and it automatically closed. So I just kind of tucked it in the corner, like, hey, anyone who might need some weed, it's still there, So I don't know. I've heard that they're seldom used, but somebody thought it was a good idea. Go ahead. I don't know is that weed sent to the incinerator or do they split it up with everyone who is just going to be like chilling after work? That's a good question.
I would love if like every year on 420 they just opened the box and just flung it to the gods, like anyone who wants it, help yourself kind of thing. I know
it's getting a little full in March, but we wait till April 20th to crack that thing open. It's like a big piggy bank.
I wonder that too. I don't know what they do with I know here they were having an issue where because it's on the outside, that if I went to the airport with like a friend, they could go in and dig in the box and pull it out and leave. Like there were issues where people were like trying to get into the boxes because you don't need a passport, you don't need ID. You're just standing in the airport like a taxi or something. You're just anybody.
Yeah, you should. That's a
but
little grab bag full of weed. I mean, why not?
that's the thing. And I mean, it is legal. So I don't know. I feel like that should be, I don't know, overlooked. They should just kind of look away in those situations. Not like encourage, but not like penalize. A little
Right.
dumpster diving, amnesty box of stoners, you know? But
Uh,
yeah. And
let's
I also just want to say that I thought it was the other crazy part about this whole airport experience is that selling CBD drinks in the airport, like CBD is still kind of legal, kind of not. It's not completely available. It's not completely not available. I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm flying international. They're selling CBD drinks at the airport. That seemed like so chill to me. Like, what if Canada wasn't legal? Like, I brought one of them back with me. I don't know. It just seems like kind of crazy. Like, what kind of world are we living in? This fucking rules.
And I think that's why it's so hard to police. Like, okay, a cartridge, it's not going to be worth it to dig through everybody's makeup bag that rolls through security to see if they have a cartridge in it. It's just like we don't have the resources for that. And then now that I can have weed in sugar, or I can have a weed soda that I can just like sneak into the movies or just pour into a glass and drink, it's like, and thankfully, these things are relatively harmless, all things considered. So it's really just like, okay, guys, we give up. If you want to enjoy weed at this point and you're not trying to bring like pounds through, and I know people do that as well, then it's like you're very low priority on our like on the list of people we need to be paying attention to.
And this is the thing. I suspect those canine dogs were not weed dogs because they would have pinged the fuck out of me. Because in my rush to get to the airport on time, I had tons of butts in my pocket. So like the dog would have smelled it for sure. And that was like normally I empty my pockets, I shake out my bag, I do the whole thing, but we were in such a rush that I did not have a chance. I didn't even pack my bag. I just threw everything in and buckled it and ran. So like I was very nervous once I got in and realized how many cigarette butts I had and like joint spliff butts, right? Because I like to do my mix. I'm like, oh, there's my pockets are full. But and I remember hearing that years ago. I mean, we're talking maybe 10 years ago when I was working in California. I had friends who would fly with weed when everything was still super illegal. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are so brave. Like, how can you just get on a plane? Like, is it in your checked bags? Is it in whatever? And they're like, you just carry it on in your bag and that's it. Like at that point, weed was already crossing so many borders. And California was talking about moving towards legalization. It had become such a thing that, you know, the rumor was like, they're not training drug dogs for weed anymore. They're not teaching them to sniff that out because everybody fucking smells like weed. Like everyone smokes it. It's everywhere. So why would they have drug dogs in California smelling for weed when
Right.
people probably smell like weed anyway?
Right. When it's a greater liability that they might lose like a first class customer over like, okay, we caught somebody with a whatever and now we need to alert the authorities, which is like, okay, nobody benefits from that.
And maybe different states were different, but definitely out of California at that time, nobody was worried about bringing a few ounces in their carry-on bag just to go to the airport. Like people felt completely confident going back and forth, flying around with, you know, a few ounces on them. And that could have given you jail time at that time, but it just seemed like airports don't really care. Now, I have been pinged by a drug dog once, and I will say it was very scary. It was on a Greyhound going from
Greyhound.
Toronto to Buffalo. And I had been out the night before. I have smoked weed for years, so I always smell like weed. But I think what pinged the dog was that my backpack was one that I had used while I was working on a weed farm. So it would have had that residual because it was the backpack lived on a weed farm with me. And the dog did. So they take all of your bags off the bus at the border crossing. They line them up. You stay on the bus. And then the dog walks past them. And then they let you off the bus to do the customs and show the customs your passport. And at that time, you go and bring your bag with you to the customs officer. So it's like a double doored wall. So
Yeah.
they open one wall, put the bags in, close it, they open the other wall, and you take your bag out. And the dog pinged me immediately. And it just like booked it to me in line. And I was like, oh fuck.
Oh
But
yeah, weed bag.
I never travel with weed. Like I always want to, but I never do. So yeah, and the dog pinged me, and I was crossing into the States, so it was American Border Control, and they searched the fuck out of my bag, like delayed that bus 45 solid minutes, if not more. Yeah. And I did not have that much stuff. And they went even, I had a toothbrush in a little plastic tube. They opened the tube, they took out the toothbrush, they shined a flashlight in it, they unfolded all my friggin' dirty undies, like all my nasty clothes. Like they went full throttle search and found nothing, but really didn't believe that there was nothing because of how hard the dog pinged me. Yeah. So it is really intimidating. So I would say I'm not trying to give people bad ideas, but I don't think those were drug dogs.
Well, I mean, hey, what were we saying? So med kind of got its start, a legit start in Puerto Rico in 2015. Okay, so if that's when they started like doing less drug dog training, focusing on cannabis, that was what, 8 years ago. Like those dogs have graduated, those dogs have moved on, some of those dogs have passed on.
Yeah.
That's just like the nature of these drug dogs. And let's be real, they're probably a lot more effective and have greater value if they're searching for weapons, for gunpowder residue,
Exactly.
bombs, whatever else they do that is like a larger concern and less likely to scare investors away, which is like a real thing.
That's exactly it. Anyway, I think that sums up my trip to Puerto Rico.
Well, hey, tell us about this interview that you conducted, so we can drop that in here soon and give everyone a taste.
Cesar, I met, he's really, really fucking cool. He's working on there are such cool projects happening in Puerto Rico. Like they're doing a lot of back to the land projects for like native Puerto Ricans, doing traditional growing techniques. So he's involved in like this amazing gardening project where they're growing tons of herbs and vegetables, and it's very cool. And then he runs the BioBay tours. So if you go to Puerto Rico and you want to see this BioBay, which by the way, do it. It's worth it. Just go. I've never seen it. It's like a wonder of the world. And so he's part of a group that's protecting the BioBay, because they used to let people swim in it and they used to let motorboats in it. But now he's helping preserve that environment because it is like a wonder of the world. It's very rare to have this density of these phytoplankton in this bay. And they feed off the mangrove trees. He's got these jokes. And anyway, Cesar is so cool. And he let me pick his brain about the weed scene out there. So this interview, we're going to pop in here. And at the very end, he gave me a smoking spot.
Yep.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. What's going on?
Sad to be out of the sun. It's cold as fuck here.
Word.
I'm really excited about this episode because there's really no information about weed for Puerto Rico.
Right.
Tell me about the weed scene, anything you want people to know about the cannabis community down there.
So, I mean, it's pretty big. You know, everybody smokes just like everybody everywhere. Everybody out here, like, forms of smoking. A lot of people smoke bowls, but also wraps. Everyone uses, like, blunt wraps.
Nice.
It's not so much like in the States where they use, like, the blunt wraps where you have to empty the tobacco inside. It's just, like, the blunt wraps that are already, like, you know, they're just, like, on a roll, pretty much.
Those are the good ones. I like those ones.
Yeah, so that's usually how people smoke out here. There's, you know, everybody on the main island at least uses dispensary for the most part because they're everywhere and easy access. It's really, really easy to get your card here. Any, like, you know, for any which thing, you can just get your card. And, like, when I got my medical card, I just had to do, like, a FaceTime with the doctor and didn't have to go in anywhere. Everything was just done right by phone. And after having a quick little FaceTime of like 5-10 minutes of answering a few questions from the doctor, he emailed me the thing to where I could just go into the dispensary and get my card. Pretty quick process, quick and easy.
Obviously, I had to buy black market because I couldn't get into a dispensary. So to me, it just seemed like everyone was selling dispensary weed.
Yeah, for a lot of people, they do just buy from the dispensary because it is fairly cheap at a lot of places, and then they'll just resell that way.
Yeah, that's like the tourist market. I was like really seeing that around a lot. What about growing? Are people growing out there?
Yeah, there's definitely some grows, more so on the main island.
Mm-hmm.
There is a grow that's going to be starting here shortly in Vieques that they're going to be using one of the buildings from the old bunkers here, and they're actually going to be using that to start a grow operation.
Whoa, like totally legal medical grow? Like,
Yep.
Wow.
Yep, they've already started like the building for it and everything. They're like, just repurposing one of those little bunker areas.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, what's like you do a lot of gardening there. How's the climate for growing weed? They're obviously going to be doing indoor in a bunker.
Right.
But have you
outdoor here? There's quite a few people that grow outdoor here. It's more not so much so to like resell or anything. A lot of people just grow for their own personal use.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of that. It's not always the best quality, just because I'm used to like, when I was in Florida and I lived in California for a little while, there's still nothing been quite like California or Oregon weed for me.
I know. Honestly, California and Oregon kind of fucked me up too because I lived there in both places for a really long time. So even now I'm like, just nothing is better, really.
yeah, it's hard to compare to that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So do you know like what kind of like the weed that we smoked together, to me it tasted and smelled like very tropical. Like I find here in Canada right now, like fruity and candy sweet stuff seems to be really trending compared to like gassier or stinkier stuff. Like, have you noticed any trends in like the smells or the flavors?
Oh, for sure. Here in Puerto Rico, it's really all about those sweet smelling things. Like, you're totally right on that. You're right on par, because that's really what it mostly is out here. For me, myself, I prefer the, dirty diaper smell.
Yeah.
But yeah, here it's definitely been more just the sweeter and taste really sweet, taste really fruity. Everyone here is really, really into indica. I'm more of sativa myself, but hybrids are always great for me as well. But here, definitely, like almost everybody is always up pure indica.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense, especially if you're living like the island vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very chill. You just want to like relax on the beach. I didn't feel like weird smoking in public. Like I didn't get, even on the mainland, like I didn't get any vibes like I was going to get in trouble. Like I actually felt really chill about it.
Oh no, for sure. Like you're not really supposed to, but like anywhere and everywhere, like like especially here in Vieques, like anywhere and everywhere you can be smoking. It's really not a problem anywhere. Like really you'll see, like just yesterday when I was going to go pick up some food, while all the like BioBay tours are starting to set up and everything, some BioBay guys are behind their truck where all the people meet, and they're just smoking right there, right on the beach, like right in front of everybody.
To me, it feels like that is such a great spot to be smoking. Like the BioBay tour was so excellent. And like you and I talked about bird watching. And to me, like people that are cannabis tourists, like myself, where I want to go somewhere, I want to smoke the weed, I want to like see the local culture. Like I don't want to go to, the city and go shopping. Like I want to go to the island and stare at the water and like look at the birds. So to me, Vieques just seems like the perfect destination for someone.
Smoking nature while being in nature.
Exactly. Yeah, like I really got that vibe. So to me, it's like an amazing destination for like a canna tourist, but you have to be bold enough to ask around to find the weed.
Yeah, and it's not always the easiest because, people here are somewhat hesitant about selling to tourists at times, just because there has been like a lot, like not a lot, but a few undercovers that have come here. It's not usually for the weed that they're looking for, but usually that's like the first step to getting to the next thing for some people out here, you know?
Oh, interesting.
Wise, because usually if someone sells one thing to a tourist, they'll sell, the next level up as well. So
That's true. Okay, so we're talking about the spicy stuff, a little different. I did hear rumblings about some more psychedelic stuff too.
yeah, and ayahuasca is growing too. I feel like that's maybe like everywhere it's getting kind of trendy. I feel like, yeah, ayahuasca has really been getting a lot more popular here.
Interesting. Okay, so I have 2 more minutes of your time. What else? Is there anything else you want to tell people about the weed there? But really, I would also love to hear like your favorite smoking spots.
So, really, me myself, I just like driving around and smoking. So, just riding with the windows slightly cracked, or I myself prefer baking out. But just being able to drive, and then here in Vieques, you're right next to the beach all the time. But there is one specific spot where the beach is called Playa Gallito, and it has almost like a small little cliff that you can drive out to, like a little point, and you have a view out to the main island. You can see Culebra, the other sister island to Puerto Rico, and just the ocean and the beach right there next to you. And you don't even have to get out of the car to see all these things here. I can just sit in the car right there and just smoke.
You know what? That's just a sign that smokers are the same everywhere because I love driving around and ripping doobies in my car too. That's just the best feeling. Thanks so much, Cesar. It was so nice to meet you in Puerto Rico and the BioBay tour.
One more smoking thing.
Yes.
Because it is, like I do sleep on it a lot, but smoking in a hammock is pretty amazing. Like under some palm trees, smoking in a hammock, it is very nice.
I love that. Well, thanks so much for the hot tips. I'm going to throw them into the podcast today, and you're awesome. I appreciate you.
For sure, no problem. Thanks for giving me a call.
Oh, perfect.
Getting to chat with him about weed was probably one of the highlights of getting to check out Puerto Rico.
Awesome for him for recording that. Thank you for calling and setting that all up for us. Like that was great. Loved it.
I loved it too. So guys, highly recommend Puerto Rico, 10 out of 10. If you've been and you've smoked any of the weed there, reach out and let us know your favorite smoking spots in PR because I will definitely be going back.
Love it. I mean, you're going to have to now just to follow up on the scene and report back. You're committed.
I'm committed. I'm absolutely committed. And I'm also looking to the future for our next destination because I heard a little rumor that this year on 420, Vancouver, British Columbia is trying to break some cannabis world records.
Ah, yes. Is that something you want to tell us more about now, or should we wait till later?
I'm going to hint that they're trying to whirl the world's largest joint.
Fun. Yes.
And then do a huge hot box. So I'm kind of thinking about going out there and trying to get some on the ground action, but I'm hoping to have more fun travel episodes for all of our listeners in the future. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. We were nominated for an award.
Yes. Can Expo in Toronto in March has featured us. We've been nominated for Best Podcast. So we will spread the word, tell people how to like vote or chime in or, start folding your 10,000 origami cranes to like request that we win this thing.
Yes. The voting, we'll set up the info on our Instagram, which is at @the.smokingspot. And you guys should go vote for us so we can be winners.
Yeah, we've got a lot of cool projects and stuff coming out for the podcast. So do share this with your friends. Do nominate us for more things like that. We're loving it. Loving a lot of stuff these days, I guess. I'm at the Loud 100 on Instagram, so you can find me there. Amanda, where can we track you down?
You can find me at emerald.temple.living. And yeah, me and Ryan have a lot of fun surprises for you guys over the next few weeks. So definitely come back and listen into the smoking spot.
Yeah, stay tuned. Next week we should have another project launch. I would like to also mention that the incense has sold out. very small run. So if you did not get some of that and you wanted it, maybe hit us up. We might do another batch. But yeah, very stoked to sell out the first project and more projects to come. So stay tuned.
Yep, next week.
Yeah. So we'll be back next week to talk more about our favorite plant, and we hope you'll join us.
Hey, Smoking Spot fans, we have a bonus smoking spot for you this week, all the way from Puerto Rico, my new friend, Shaggy.
El Yunque is basically our national forest here in Puerto Rico. We have had it, since the start of the dawn of the colonization times. It has been basically a spiritual place for our people since, before that time. And every time I go there, it's like I'm connecting myself to not just nature, but with my ancestors. And I go there, I go to the waterfalls, I go see the trees. I can even hug the trees while I walk the road of the river. There are also trees with faces. There are also fruit in the trees. There's also animals that you can go see. It's a majestic place. It's a majestic place, and weed just makes it much beautiful and greater. It enhances the experience like 100-fold. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's the only way to describe this. Now, about weed in Puerto Rico, I would say that it's still something that is almost like a taboo because people get it confused from the weed that they used to smoke on the streets with the medicinal part. Now, medicinal cannabis has much more length than just weed.
Thanks so much for sending that in, Shaggy. And don't forget to send us your favorite smoking spots.
Said no matter what kind of pain and anguish life may bring you, oh, smoke it up, hold it down, and don't ever stop. Well, you can always find your smoking spot. Yeah, you can always find your smoking spot.